Hey everyone, welcome back to Redlands Rundown, the official podcast of Redlands Community College, where we're committed to helping our students find success in the classroom, in their careers, and with everything in between. I'm very excited about today's episode. It's something that I've kind of had in the back of my mind and wanted to do, and I thought coming up on Christmas break and everybody getting ready to go home for a little bit was the perfect time to have Miss Julie Lamb, our student counselor, join us. So I'm very excited about our podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
So before we dive into any of our topics and the questions I have for you, I just want you to tell our listeners a little bit about who you are, your role here at Redlands, and kind of what that looks like for you.
I am the student mental health counselor for Redlands, and I'm available to help students who may be suffering from anxiety, depression, adjusting to college life and culture, really just anything that comes up. And I also connect them to student support providers in the community. And I would just like to give a shout out to some of those because we have the absolute best community partners in Canadian County. Examples include Canadian County Coalition for Children and Families, Donna Dyer with Blessing Vasquez, Watt and Angel, right? Tribal Partners, Red Rock Behavioral Health, just too many to list, but we have the best partners, and I just wanted to give them a shout out because they're always available to help our students.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, we do have a really great community, a lot of support from the people in it. So awesome. Okay, great. So this is going to be coming out right as we're going into Christmas break. And so really the theme of the episode is rest and reset. And so to start, I want to talk about the basics and what that means because it might mean different things to different people. And so from your perspective, what does that look like?
And I always, too, just try to bring in some student perspective because I've written down some things that they have given me feedback on. And I love to share that because it kind of helps students realize, oh, someone else thinks like me, So when we talk about different things like, resetting and resting and all of that, I mean, there's different areas. There's mental rest, physical rest, emotional rest. And so mental students usually just say, I need a brain break. Or y'all need that. And physical is just being still, catching up on their sleep. And then emotional may look like just setting boundaries and that kind of thing and protecting their well-being.
Yeah. So from your experience, what are some things that typically our students might misunderstand about this?
Yeah. And I said, written some of those things down, but a lot of times, even all of us, not just students, we get caught up in the hustle and bustle of the holiday season with, just different kinds of demands. One student told me, and I wrote it down, that they get caught up with like social activities. We'll call it that. They get so busy hanging out with their friends and they forget to truly rest. Yeah. And so I think that's just so important is to take the time to do that, to guard our time to reset.
Yeah, to really be intentional.
Absolutely,
for sure.
Intentional.
And I have some questions later on that I think will kind of expand on that I wanted to pick your brain about. But now that we kind of have a definition and an idea of the different kinds of resting, physical, emotional, mental, all those different ones, I want to talk about how we know and how we can recognize that we need that. So can you talk about some red flags that you see this time of the year so students can recognize?
Absolutely. Usually towards the end of the semester when things are getting really hectic and they're getting ready for finals, I see sometimes missed classes, lack of motivation, relationship issues, that type of thing. So that's usually a red flag for me that, okay, it's time for them to get a rest.
Mm-hmm. And then one thing that I talk about probably more now as I've gotten a little bit older is stress and burnout. Can you talk about the difference between those two, especially how they relate to our students and how they can, determine which one of those they're having and kind of how to handle that?
For sure. That's an excellent question because we all have stress and that's normal, can actually motivate us to do our best. Mm-hmm. But burnout, it looks different. I mean, that is when you have chronic, long-term, ongoing anxiety, and that can actually be crippling. Sometimes it can affect our ability to function or our ability to just enjoy life in general. And that's when we know that we need to reach out for help.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
There's a difference.
and I think it's great that you point out how stress can be a motivator. A little bit of pressure, sometimes it can be uncomfortable, but it can really be good when you've got big assignments coming up, and this will come out after finals, but even as our students are getting ready for this break semester, to be able to know that little bit of worry and that little bit of stress means that you care, that, and it's pushing you to do better.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Not letting it get to that point. Yes. You're getting burnt out, like you reach out for help.
Absolutely. And we never want our students to hesitate to reach out. I mean, we care about our students academically. We also want them to be successful in life.
Yeah.
And never be afraid to reach out because we care. There's so many people in the community available to help.
Yeah.
And they will.
Absolutely. Great. Okay, so now that our students finally get the chance to slow down and take a break, we've got, I don't know how long is our Christmas break. So we were just talking about it, several weeks.
Yeah.
And so, especially for our students, they are probably closer to a month. And so I want to talk about what an actual healthy rest looks like for our students. So can you talk about some simple, realistic ways that our students can actually implement intentional rest or break?
For sure. I think a good idea would be to unplug from social media a little bit, really kind of monitor that. A lot of people are doom scrolling and, can really take hold in our psyche. So, that type of thing, fresh air, exercise, really just guarding our time to quiet our thoughts and reset.
Okay. And then my next question is something that I relate to personally about feeling guilty about not doing something. It's hard for me to sit and be still and not feel that like, oh, I need to do something. And that's when I start to doom scroll.
Yeah.
And then I get anxious because I spent 3 hours on TikTok. So what advice do you have for our students that feel like they have to be constantly doing something?
Right. And it's for us too, because we all, as you mentioned, struggle with it. But I can tell students that resting is actively productive because it gives us that moment to pause and focus on our mental health and helps us better prepare when we come back. So our focus is going to be sharper. We're going to be able to do better in classes if we can just take that time to do it. But we all sometimes feel guilty in that transition to break is difficult because I myself, as you mentioned, it takes a couple of days to just go, okay, what's my schedule today? Oh, I don't have a schedule today. And to really embrace that and take that time to intentionally rest. Very great.
Yeah. Do you have any activities or small things that you enjoy doing instead of, because I'm guilty of doing scrolling. Oh, and so true. I almost have to have I love crafting and little things like that, even coloring. I know that seems kind of silly, me and older, but is there anything that you recommend for our students that maybe struggle with that they can do to be intentional?
Yeah, I think it's good for them to focus on their hobbies, whatever that they do for fun. I had a student tell me that, I just want to read a book that's not assigned.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so something like that. I enjoy the outdoors, so hiking, being out, fresh air, even if it's cold, just for a short amount of time to breathe in, a deep breathing, and really just spend time connecting with family, being around those we love, and making memories.
Yeah, awesome. I think those are all great practical tips for our students to use and like you said, I think unplugging can be so helpful, especially for that noise in our head of everything else and your mind's running a million miles an hour and actually getting to slow down for a little bit.
Just take the time to do it and not feel bad about it.
Absolutely. Okay, great. So now that we've talked about some ways that our students can really rest and be intentional about that over break, we know, unfortunately, break does not last forever. We have to get ready for the spring semester, and it always comes up quicker than sometimes we want it to. But I want to talk about how our students can reset before coming back. And so tell me, sorry, my thing is zooming out. So what are some things that you would recommend our students be thinking about before January, before classes start, to really prep themselves to come back and have a good start coming back?
Yeah. I think reflecting on the fall semester, just looking back, say what worked, what didn't work, what could they do differently to be more successful, setting small achievable goals that they can do, not trying to take on too much at once. And to also remember to take small breaks during the semester and remember to stop and have fun during the semester. Don't wait for official breaks.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's easy to overload yourself when a lot of different responsibilities, and especially some of our students on campus that are on competitive teams, and then, they're involved in other extracurriculars. And so it was something that I've always kind of lived by, especially like in my professional career, because I've went from different industry to different industry and never really saw myself working in higher ed. And I loved it, is being open to different opportunities. But I think, to your point, also knowing when it's okay to say no to protect your time and your energy, so you're giving 100% to what you need.
Absolutely true. And just balancing that work, life, school, keep it in perspective so that we can stay mentally well throughout the semester.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any tips to make that transition from break into, really getting back into the swing of things easier? I know that's tough for a lot of students. Do you have any tips for them there?
I would just say what I tell students is try to adjust their schedule a few days before semester starts. I maybe get up early a couple of days before. So they can get used to getting up, and to maybe organize their space. I think that's all work. Get ready for that, how that's going to look to them. Maybe get a calendar, start, scheduling study time and starting to look at their syllabus and, see what's due when, and, just get an idea and start getting that mindset transition back to school.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think sometimes for me, the thought of something is more overwhelming than actually doing it. And so, for our students, especially those that are enrolled full-time, that are taking 4 or 5 classes, that thought of looking at all the assignments that are coming up might be overwhelming. But it feels, for me, and I'm a physical planner person, and so I have a paper where I write everything out of. It's kind of like satisfying for me to get that out of my head and put it on paper, where I don't feel like I have to carry that anymore and I can see it. And something that helps me is just taking things one day, one thing at a time, and not focusing on everything that you have coming up, and really focusing on what's my top priority, what do I need to work on first. So I think those are great tips. Looking at your syllabus at time, getting an idea of what you need, prepping. Don't wait till that first day of classes to look at all.
Yes, and get the book in before. Before
Get the books before if you can. And I know Sydney and I have talked about different ways of planning. She's more of a digital. I'm more of like a physical planner. So whatever style works best for our students. But I think as long as you have something, so that really helps.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit more about resources for our students. So obviously you're a resource for our students on campus. How can our students reach out to you, get in touch with you?
Sure. So even though classes won't start till, I believe, about the 20th, so we come back on the 6th, I believe, 5th. And so I will be on campus on the 5th and available for students if they want to come by, email, call. And also on the break, we have Timely Care, which is our new free for students online resource for mental health and physical health. So that students can go online on Canvas. There's a link, and you can just sign up. There's a Timely Care app. They can go on and register, and they can get 6 sessions. 6 sessions of scheduled counseling, 6 sessions of scheduled medical. They can go call and get a doctor's appointment from the hatch. If you're sick, don't hesitate to reach out, because there's 6 free counseling sessions a year and 6 free medical sessions per year. And there's 24/7 talk now. If they're just having like a rough day and they need someone to talk to, this is available 24/7 for them. Medical now is also 24/7 if they're just say and they know they have a sinus infection or something, but they really don't have insurance and a way to go to the doctor. Mm-hmm. They can call and get a doctor through Timely Care, and they maybe would send in a prescription, just do a video session with them. So it's such an amazing resource for our students. And then there's also health coaching. self-care content, things that really might be helpful for them over the break to reset, and peer community, and lastly, basic needs support if they need a resource in the community. I've uploaded our local resources for them. So they're all available on the Time the Care app as well.
Awesome.
And then, so there's just no reason for them to reach out if they need some help. Just don't hesitate. There's someone always.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think your point of, having a doctor's appointment from the Cali, I did that when I was in college. And for a lot of our students here, you might have a family doctor back home. And if you're over break, and you might be able to get in and see them. But even if they're busy and, they're home for the holidays too, having that your resource and access to medical care while staying at home, because nobody wants to leave the house if we're sick. And even if you're not sick and you're just not feeling the best and you need somebody to talk to, that's awesome to have that available, right at your fingertips.
Yes. Such a blessing that we have this resource free for our students. Yeah, it's just amazing. I hope it can continue. So we want our students to utilize it, please, because we don't want to, risk losing it if we don't have the utilization. So definitely use this free resource, students.
And if they have any questions about accessing, they can say hi
or call me, email, drop by. Like I said, there's several places on our website that it's available, and you just sign on with, your school email. Really easy.
Okay, awesome. Is there anything else that you want to share with our students today before we wrap up?
Just kind of to add, though, that, at Redlands, we're not just concerned about academic success. We want our students to do well, physically, emotionally. We have such great partners here. People on campus take care. Just walk into any office if they ever need any help. If that person can't help, I know that they will send down to the person who can't.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something Sydney and I talked about before is, Redlands. And I think what makes Redlands unique is the culture and the family-like environment. And just, professors really care about our students, and our staff really cares about our students. And we are so fortunate to have you as a resource to support for our students. So for our students that are listening, I would very much so encourage you to reach out to Miss Lamb if you need help, you need somebody to talk to, or if you just want to go in and meet her, because she is a wonderful person, and I can't recommend her enough for all of our students to go and visit.
I always have cookies and coffee, so come on in.
You have a sweet setup in your office. It's very comfy in there.
Glad to be welcoming.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you for joining us today.
You so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and thank you guys for listening. Make sure to subscribe wherever you listen, and we will see you next time. Bye.